Hello everybody, my name is Squaggy and let's talk about the anime of Cardfight Vanguard. The Divine Z anime's new season, Parallactic Clash, has just premiered its first episode. If you're watching this video, I'm going to assume you've watched it, and I will be making reference to events in the episode, so if you don't want plot or card spoilers, stay away till you've watched it. Right now, I want to talk about what was good, what I hope to see developed on in future, and some potential theories for how the series will play out. Keep in mind on Monday or so we will have the Vanguard anniversary stream, where we will likely get new information, probably something anime related, so this video could age poorly really quickly, but I do want to get my thoughts out nonetheless. First, let's talk the good. The setting of the parallel world is actually sufficiently eerie/off-putting. They are not very subtle with it, as Vanguard can't be because, most of the viewers are pretty young and or don't read, so they're quite blunt with the setting. Suo is super upbeat, Kwon is very reserved, Hikari is a little more sporty as a result of not being Shibu's host years back. Because the audience knows it's wrong if they've been following the story of Divine Z, it does feel pretty off. So I think that the vibe is done well enough. It's also not the first time we've seen a motherless protagonist with, their mother as a dream sequence in Vanguard, and it does work pretty well in the context of Akina, who we know doesn't, have a mom in his life. An additional thing that I like is that even though the world is technically better for some of our main cast, specifically Suo, who seems a lot happier, presumably because he still has his parents around, and Akina also has kind of a better life in the sense that he's no longer kind of a child of divorce. He has a more nuclear family structure as a result, and seems to have his parents in his life a lot more. While it's good for them, it's clearly not good for Kenta, Akina's original best friend, who is now in a different class and thus has no support system and even seems to be bullied and is now a lot more rough and tough. It's a really blunt way to suggest that the world isn't necessarily better for everyone, it's just different. Another character who may have it kind of worse in this world, who, you may not really think of much as a character, is Akina's mom. While it's great for Akina and Hikari to have two present parents, I'm sure it's easier for Akina, who in the original world kind of had to put on a brave face and do all these familial duties like cooking and cleaning and stuff that maybe a mom or a dad would have more time to do. It doesn't seem to be what the mom wants. The flashback does suggest that she can't really commit to either the dad, who's no longer around a lot because he's always working. She can't really dedicate herself to her kids, which, is a sad thing, but she has the right to want that. And it goes against her old world's wishes as to why they split up in the first place. So it gives kind of the character something to fight for other than the world is fake, because the immediate counter argument is, but it's a better world, when even in this world, it's not a better world for everyone. This is kind of a really nice thing I like when you show me a parallel world, but it's not just better, but the only consequence is that it's fake, or the only problem is that, it's not real. I think that's kind of just a cop-out thing. You have to show me that just in addition to the world not being real, it's also not fulfilling for everyone. Someone's happiness has to give in exchange for the happiness of other people. I think that's a pretty decent way that it can go about a story like that. Second off, I think the new characters are serviceable. Kurumi and Kanami are fine. Kurumi clearly having the charm and kind of shy, delicate vibe that is a lot more popular with general audiences, and Kanami being a bit more boisterous creates this immediate dichotomy between the two girls who are related. A lot of work is going to be needed to flesh these characters out, and it's way easier for me to care about someone like Phantome Suo than it is for me to care about characters I don't really know yet, but we do have a ton more episodes to go to get to caring about them, even if it's not a lot of episodes, so we do have not a lot of time to get to know Kurumi and Kanami and then start caring about them. It seems that this season's emotional core is going to involve these twins in a major way, so we really have to start caring about them quickly and they have to give us a reason to care. Kurumi has it way easier. She has like a kind of cute charm to her, especially in school interacting with Akina. And as a result of interacting with Akina, she also has kind of the head slop shipping kind of thing you could do. You can develop that if you want to. I think it's pretty lazy and whatever, but you could do that. And the issue for her seems to be pretty obvious from both the opening and the episode. Kurumi is hospitalized in the old world, but here she gets to be at school and hang out with the guy who always visited and was her friend back then. In the opening, it's a pretty stark contrast between the hospital and the sequence where she gets to be free and dance her heart out. This is a pretty blatant emotional beat that they want to play off, and it is a good one. They just have to stick the landing. Now, here are some things that I hope are developed in future episodes so that they can stick that landing. I talked about it briefly, but you have to make me give a shit about these characters. In fairness, Vanguard can barely make me care about Akina and Divine Z, but they do a good job with other characters like Mikoto, Erika, Hikari, and Kagetsu, so I know it can be done. I don't really care much about Kanami right now, aside from being a way to progress Kurumi's story, who does seem to be a bit more interesting. I have to look up Ryuga's name to get it, and right now, none of the main cast has a very obvious worse parallel world than their original world, which can make it really hard to understand the main cast's motivation, aside from the, normal, let's get rid of the fake world where everyone's life is awesome. It only really seems like Kenta has it markedly worse than before, and only Akina has a reason to give a shit, And that's kind of lame. It would make sense to me if one Mythage fighter has it a little worse in this parallel world, and thus they want to really fight for the real world again where their life is a little better. That, may seem a little selfish, but I also think it adds some personal motivation to some of these characters who right now do just feel like, these are the heroes and thus they do the right thing. I would like to see just some personal motivation. Maybe Mikoto has it a bit worse in this world if, like, in the dream world she has dedicated herself fully to idol business or has given up Vanguard completely, for example. On the other hand, it makes sense for the Phantome fighters to have a life that is so much better than what they had before, and thus they'd rather stay here. Even still, I'm hoping for a little bit of a difference in something like Phantom, Megumi, and Masanori. Since they're the ones we've known the longest in the original world, it would make sense that maybe they've already grown really used to the old world, and thus this new world does kind of suck for them, but they still feel some obligation to protect it. For Masanori, theoretically, that could be, what was his name, Shingi? For Megumi, it could be something for, like, her family, who's kind of, like, the more rich, more, like, non-Blackout kind of vibe that she had before joining Blackout, right? Maybe they feel obligation to external things rather than to themselves and to the world. I think that would make for a pretty interesting concept. Parallel worlds have always been a pretty interesting concept to me. I like dream worlds and stuff. But if you're gonna show me that even one character or two characters don't have it good, like Kenta, then I want to see more of that in other characters. I want to see how the world has changed for them and how they've reacted to this new world. I think that could really easily make for characters that people care about, and cards that they therefore want to buy. Speaking of people like Megumi and Masanori, I have to see some new faces again. That's another concern I have. Vanguard has had a cast problem for forever. In the original series, at least they have like 60 episodes per season, so you can spend like 1 or 2 on Morikawa and that's fine. But if you're gonna show me a 13 episode boss rush, time is really precious. If there's another spooky secret character, it will be really hard for me to give a shit about everyone. It was kind of okay in Season 1. It's like iffy in Season 2 if, She Built Now is something that works for you. I know it doesn't work for a lot of people. It's kind of iffy for me. And there wasn't really a late secret character in Deluxe, but I don't really care about anyone in Deluxe at all because Deluxe wasn't a particularly good season, aside from maybe Kagetsu. So right now, with this much cast bloat where I need to give a shit about Kurumi, Kanami, for some reason Ryuga, you're gonna have to let me see some of the older characters that we already have attachment to just by virtue of time and spending time with A, the characters, and B, their cards in real life. Oh, can I see Kwon play Vanguard maybe? How is Taizo and, God, what is his name? Oh, the guy who plays Aquilibra, his name, Kyoma's his name. I really did forget mid-recording. Like, these are really easy ways for you to build attachment, like for an audience to get attached easily, like just having a character we're already familiar with. Even if those characters aren't very developed to begin with, they could be now. And thus, I give a bit more of a shit if you try and develop, like, Yuna now, as opposed to developing a new character completely. The rest of my wishes for the development of this series are just the normal plot things, but these are the two main things I want to address because I think that I have worries that the series will miss the landing on these. And Vanguard really has a lot of really good ideas, it tends to be the execution is lacking. And now here are some theories. This is what I use my literature major for. Number 1 theory, Erika doesn't exist. If the whole Fated Clash doesn't happen, and the Destined Showdown also doesn't happen because there is no Fated Clash, then Erika can't exist. Especially because Shibuild never seems to infect Hikari and thus she never seems to get hospitalized and never has to be the reason for Akina to take on the Fated Clash in the first place. So, if Erika doesn't exist, but Akina remembers her, that gives Akina something to fight for, perhaps a little bit selfishly, for her friend, for his friend slash kind of pseudo-sister, and also an equal. They were finalists in Divine Z, they were finalists in Deluxe. They should be kind of equal and close. Akina and Erika do have kind of a relationship in some way, familially I'm speaking, not in a weird way. Like, they have a familial and close friendship that I think is important enough to Akina that he would want to fight for it, and will make sense to just give him a personal stake in the story, rather than just, I want to do this because I am Akina, the protagonist. And for what it's worth, I mean, sometimes characters just aren't mentioned. I mean, where's Taizo? Poor Taizo, he's not around either. But Erika is a bit more important, obviously, to the overall arc. I mean, she was part Gabrielius as well. And this leads to the other elephant in the room, which is, if she's not around, then Liael isn't around, presumably speaking. Hikari doesn't seem to have Liael Odium if there is no Destined Showdown. Erika doesn't have Liael Amorta by virtue of not existing. And again, this is one of the decks that uses Gabrielius, and she is part Gabrielius, so where is she? Gabrielius is our main antagonist. Well, throughout the episode, they talk about the Mirage card, which seems to be kind of the MacGuffin card, the depend card of this season. What if that's Liael? It could be kind of more of a conceptual card, not like a real card that you could buy at a store, but it makes sense if Gabrielius holds a Liael, which is kind of a piece of Erika that he can't let go of. In addition to that making sense kind of from a story perspective to me, it also makes sense to me from the product schedule. Why do we release Erika and Hikari deck sets? Surely it makes better financial sense for Bushiroad to have deck sets for characters in the main cast, who will get advertised too, so that they can sell us new triple rares for their decks, right? So, what if they are getting support in the form of Gabrielius or the Mirage card? Next up, Michiru. Where is he? What's the deal? We also got his Mythage early, like it came out in a reveal rather than in an episode, so what gives? They have alluded to him already waking up. We know that he's in the show, obviously, because, he has to be. Plus, he's also in the opening sequence. But in the episode itself, he's nowhere to be found. My guess is that he's seeking out a fight against specific Phantome fighters on his own little investigation. While he kind of gives off that nonchalant vibe, he is kind of an inquisitive guy with relating to Vanguard anomalies. He's the one who originally gets Danji researching on the uniformers, which does then suggest to me that he gives a shit about Vanguard, not just competitively, but also like kind of its health and how the world around it affects, how it affects the world around him. So it will make sense to me if it is the Dark States Phantome is someone that he is searching for. While Gabrielius is probably the obvious Dark States Phantome candidate, Gabrielius also states that if the Mythage fighters make it through the rest of the fighters, only then will he deal with them. So I really kind of hope that there is a returning Phantom variant for Dark States, though it would be fine and make sense if it's just Gabrielius, The card codes for this new set indicate that there is no new Dark States Grade 3, so it's pretty likely that they're just saving that card for set 14. Finally, Kagetsu. He's obviously important, and maybe it's just his natural skill that makes him Vaisrook's chosen one, but he is the Mythage guy. As such, I hope they progress him a little bit further. Kagetsu's story arc is actually pretty complete and one of the better ones in Divine Z, and no, I won't take the stupid, oh, we fought the girl once and crashed out when he left, joke criticism as legitimate. I don't think that's true at all, necessarily. But he has plenty of potential as an active mentor and leader of the Mythage fighters. This is also probably the time we get Vaisrook's either in new form, or just one more Mythage to turn Ravnaroga to a playset rather than an 8-off. Since Vaisrook himself is a character now, it makes sense if he manifests that proactive role into a new form. Alright, that's all from me, just some quick discussion points about the new anime. I am pretty excited to see where the story goes, and I am more excited as well to see some of the new cards come out. Because right now, for 3 months straight, we basically have one new set of new Vanguard cards and the rest are reprint sets, and the Bang Dream set, which I'm not particularly jazzed about because I don't have a personal stake in the IP. So I hope that we get to see more the world of Vanguard expanded on in this anime arc, and I hope we get to see some cool Phantom units as well, so that we can just develop new characters and, finish up the arc nicely. Divine Z hasn't been the most spectacular anime out there at all, but I think ending it on a high note rather than a low is something everyone wants. Alright, that's really it. Let me know if you want me to talk more about the anime in the future. I didn't work 4 years on this literature degree for nothing. I may as well use it on Cardfight Vanguard. Alright, take care everyone. Bye-bye.